This morning, I get to speak with musical artist, singer-songwriter Marco Del Giudice about his latest single coming out on May 22nd, Victim in the Dark. It's a song, before I even read the lyrics, listening to it, I almost thought it was about either addiction or abuse. But you got to fill me in on what the real meaning of the song is, because the press release kind of tells us something different.
Uh, yeah, so basically it's a song it's a song about like basically existentialism and just dealing with like it's like the feeling when you get when you wake up at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and all of a sudden everything just feels like extra heavy, and it's like you don't feel safe, and everything kind of feels dangerous. And then you wake up later, like in the morning, like 9 whatever, and you're just like, all right, I feel better, but I don't know what that was. And it's a song that you can't find escape from that feeling. Like no vices, you can't turn around, text someone, no distraction, so you just have to deal with it head on, victim in the dark. Yeah.
No, because I really like the song, but I didn't know at first what you were going for with it. And then I was reading the press releases. I'm like, okay, so it's not about addiction, it's not about abuse or self-harm. So I really enjoy your interpretation of it.
Thank you.
Was this something that you've been experiencing yourself? Like it's the witching hour, like for people that belong to either the Catholic or the Orthodox Church, no, 3 a.m. is 12 hours after the crucifixion of Christ, and when the demons start playing with you. So like I didn't know if like that was an influence in what you're telling me. Like how did the experience come in writing the song? Did you write it at 3 in the morning? Like you couldn't sleep one day and you're like, that's it. I just got to write this down.
No, it was just an ongoing thing that was happening. I guess since the shutdown, things have been very different. And yeah, it was just me writing, my subconscious just writing about what was going on and hoping that people can connect to it. And knowing that, like, when I introduce the song at shows, everyone just like nods their head like, yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
We're
interesting because
good.
it almost feels like a dance track, but with a heavy message. So it's this, it's almost like this industrial dance blend of finding the mood of, oh, I'm suffering through this, but there's still a bit of like joy in coming out of it.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the joy comes from the release and actually, singing about it, talking about it. Yeah, I wanted to be careful when I went in to record this with, I didn't want it to tilt too much with dance. I didn't want to go, totally that way. I didn't want to lean into it too much but luckily I have a really great producer. And so we found that middle. And I told him like, let's go with, we reference Tame Impala a lot. And as far as like the vocals and Gorillaz, as far as like just like a fusion of, what my music sounds like at the moment, and with a little bit of a fresh kind of feeling to it. So I was really excited when we finished it. I was actually kind of nervous going into recording it because I was like, all right, this one sounds different from the other one. So I don't want to do a complete, I don't want to like signal like, oh, I'm going to do a rebrand. Like I didn't want that. So I was like, we need to find a middle ground here. And we did. I feel like we did. So
Right. There's so many bands that have done a rebrand that lost their entire audience that you don't want to go that route because you still want to be Marco, but you still want to express yourself slightly differently with this jam.
yeah, exactly. Cause, I put my first single out last April. It's been a year. And like, I chose the songs, the order of the releases in order to give people, sorry, the idea like of what I'm going for, the sound. I'm trying to, define what I'm writing about, what I'm singing about, and also just like what I want the music to sound like and how it feels.
Yeah. And when you do something like that, because, this is very personal. Like I remember an interview a long time ago with John Bon Jovi, and he said, you spend your entire life writing your first album, and then once it hits, the studio gives you 6 months to write the next one. So like you put your
Oh
entire life
wow.
into the first one, and then all of a sudden they want the follow-up right away. Like, how do you find that balance of putting your life into your work before being like, oh my God, what's next? What's next? What's next? And the pressure of that.
I guess you deal with it by just being hungry and always writing songs. I don't think I think the best way to do it is just write and always be prepared, and you should like I'm lucky enough where ever since I started, like I've been it the songs just come. I sit down and I write as much as I could and try to write as many songs as possible and follow a muse, always looking to always searching for inspiration, staying inspired, putting in the work to stay inspired. Because when like Bon Jovi said, like you write your first album, it takes your whole life, you write about your whole life up until that point. And I think the best way to do it is always write the next write the next chapter, but you have to stay in it. You can't just like get lost in the whole, oh, I'm playing shows now, like I'm not gonna write until the next phase of my life starts. I think it's just ongoing an ongoing dialogue.
Yeah, like Prince was doing that. I think, I mean, we lost him,
Yeah,
but he had like 500 songs in the can that we still can get new Prince music for the next 40 years.
that's yeah. I mean, I don't know that's on another level. I mean,
Right.
but like that's the thing though. He stayed hungry. He stayed in it because because he had to do it. That's what he loved to do. And if you're in a period where you're trying to write and it's nothing's coming, that's part of the process. But if you just stay in it, if you put the work in, if you search for new influences, reading helps, finding finding new influences in film. I think, but also, getting influence just from, life in general. Just like you can't like just shut out everything. You need to like, you need to be proactive and go out and meet people and go places, and it all kind of just it happens that way.
Right. Do you also find inspiration like international music, old music?
Oh
Like it's
yeah.
interesting, like, before they'd be like the oldie station and then they'd play songs from like the 40s through the 70s and then it
Yeah.
became the 50s through the 80s and then, now it's the 80s and the 90s, which is,
Mhm.
almost 50 years ago for 1980.
Yeah.
But there's that lost aspect of the music that was recorded in the 30s through the early 60s that like could be so influential to modern artists.
Yeah. I guess for me, it goes through, it just happens where, like, I remember the shutdown in 2020. I found a lot of new music that was coming out because of Spotify. Um, like music that I would have never found in a record store. So like I went through a period of just finding just new music. Like I discovered the 1975. I was a little late on that, but like I discovered them. They were a big influence on me. And then Bleachers, Jack Antonoff, a songwriter named Fiji Blue. That all came through, the COVID years, I guess we could call them. And then but right now I'm finding a lot of influences in old music now, like Marvin Gaye, a lot of disco, 70s disco music right now. And my favorite period of Marvin Gaye is the early 70s, the what's going on
Right.
phase, the existentialism kind of thing right now that I'm very in tune with. Um, Also, and like as far as just like international music, there's only really one artist that I listen to from Italy. His name is Pino Daniele, and he's unbelievable. I've been listening to him my whole life though.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's always interesting to see where the influences come from. Like,
yeah,
I had a friend who went to Berkeley and he heard music everywhere. Like he only thought in musical composition. And
okay,
so, it'd be sitting there and it'd be like, there's a drip in the faucet. Oh, that's a riff. There's
yeah,
like, the honking of the horn and then like the screeching of the brakes and then everything on, that's another riff. And I'm like, the inspiration just came from everywhere. Is that something in how it comes about for you, or is it come from silence, or like where does like the first spark naturally hit from?
Um, Everything. Silence. It could just be. I know when it's time to write when I start. When random lyrics, titles come into my head. It's not. Most. I mean, yeah. It could start with a riff. It's different every time. The process is different every time. Your craft is the same, and your craft is like evolving, but it's different every time. But when you finish it, it's the same feeling every time.
Yeah. What about like getting on stage and getting off stage? Because that's two totally different moments of writing the song, recording the song, playing it for yourself, playing it for friends, and then
Yeah.
getting on stage and then playing it for strangers that have a sense that they know you because they know the song.
Yeah, when you're playing it on stage, that's you're communicating the song, in a way that they won't um I guess it won't like it's different from listening to it and then experiencing it like live. Luckily I came up from when shows were like the thing. BC before COVID. That's what I like to that's what I like to call it.
Okay.
So that's when shows were like really happening. Like and they're happening today, but like, before COVID, like you playing to an empty room was part of the deal sometimes. I feel like that has to happen to every artist and musician. Like when it happens, you're feeling things and you're like, ah man, you're bummed. But the thing is though, it's actually a good thing that you have to go through because it develops you. It's part of that development, and I feel like that's a thing in the contract that you have to deal with early on.
But it's almost the same, like I'm going to play just as hard for 12 people as I am going to play for 12,000 people.
Yeah, every time. Honestly, like it's weird because like I was I got invited to my friend, he has a recording studio in Jersey City and he invites people. He throws like a party, but like before, a few hours before, we all go in there and there's like four or five songwriters. We sit in a circle and we play the song to each other. And I find that it's harder to play in front of six people than 6,000 people. It's actually crazy because like there's something different in that intimacy where it's like six people and they're all like you see everyone and they're listening. So, but with a big crowd, it's like you feel the room. But when you're in that intimate spot, you're kind of it's a little bit more it's good for development, but it's also kind of like it's harder, I think.
Right. It's the difference between feeling the energy and making eye contact with every single person.
Oh man. Yeah, yeah. I always make it a point just like for every show, just to kind of break the ice in my head, just to make eye contact early. Make sure like once you start, like you get locked in, then you put your head up, you look at some people, you engage them. Yeah, I think that's like I make that a point early in the show to, make some eye contact with whoever is the closest around me.
Right. No, it's interesting how that works for various artists because some musicians will be like, we can't see past the second row. And then
Yeah,
like Bruce Dickinson will have like the house lights just turned up just a little bit. And then in the 300 section, we'll be reading the sign in Spanish and then communicating with the guy from Colombia going,
yeah,
oh, okay. I was just like, like I'm so impressed by Bruce Dickinson's vision at 60 something. In
yeah,
compare, like musically, he's incredible. But on top of
yeah,
that, like, oh, you saw the sign in Spanish in the 300 section, and you were talking to the guy in his own accent in Colombian Spanish, not like Castilian Spanish. All right, got it. So it's always interesting
yeah,
to see how it
yeah,
works for the different people. Yeah,
yeah. And every room is different. Every show is gonna be different. So you just have to be prepared. Like you gotta be prepared, but you also can't like expect the same thing every show. So I mean that it's a matter of just like understanding that, and then once you understand that, you kind of you got to adapt. You got to just kind of read the room and adapt. But everything, But the like I said before, the feeling is always the same.
You know, it's interesting to see the crossover between music, sports, and even stand-up comedy. Like a joke that killed
Yeah.
in a small room on Tuesday and failed on the special that they're showing on HBO. Or, you know, you're in a fight camp and you're killing it 2 weeks out before the fight, and then the weight cut happens, and then you have an off day in the fight and you get knocked out in 14 seconds. And then, like, you know, Jersey loves this one song, but then you go to Chicago and they're just like, I didn't really feel it. Like, it's
Yeah.
interesting how that works across the board through sports and entertainment.
Yeah. No, no, you're right about that. Yeah, because sports, you never like you said, like you could be like the better fighter, but you just have that one day where, something happens, something it might not be your day.
Yeah. And that's interesting. And you know, what's fun with music at least, like say you miss the chord in the chorus, right? You just keep going. You can't sit there and go, "Oh, hold on. I screwed up the note. I got to start the song over again." You
Mhm.
just let it flow and let it keep going. When something like that happens, how do you not get into your head and go, "Did anybody notice? Did everybody notice? You know, am I too worried about this?" Or you just like, happen and let it go.
I think you're if you're in the moment and that happens, you I think it's through just reps, practice, and the more you play shows, the more that's going to happen. So the more when it does happen, you're kind of it's weird, you're prepared for it. You're prepared for that too. So, but you just keep going and you know 99 out of 100 times they never notice, but like I try to not keep that in my head because then it'll happen more and I don't want anyone to notice. So,
Right, I got you. All
yeah,
right,
yeah.
so then let's put it in the perspective for me. So, you know, how do I let myself go? Like I'm in the audience, I'm trying to be in the moment, but I know myself as a person. Like, okay, so I'm looking where the emergency exits are. I'm looking the fastest way to get out of here, what before, you know, the crowd takes 3 hours to get out of the parking lot. The guy to my right is too drunk and he looks like he's aggressive. The guy on the left is a little too stoned and it looks like he's going to be falling down and throwing up all over himself. Like, how do I avoid paying attention to all this stuff and just focus on the moment after I find the emergency exits?
Yeah. You like I said, just preparing. The more you prepare and the more shows you play, the more in the moment you're gonna be. But it's always like an hour before I play, I always kind of I try to just settle down a little bit more and try to understand, read the room. And what I find is well, my best way for me is the first song should be the song that represents you the best. For me, I think that's Daylight Hours. And if you if you introduce yourself that way, I think that it'll allow yourself to get into the moment. And and if it does happen, like if something you laugh it off. You laugh and the crowd tends to respect that. You get a little clap and then you're like, hold on, all right, let me run it back. And then it's a unique moment. You can't like if you if you give in to like the negative of that, then it'll be awkward. But if you just kind of laugh it off, because it'll open up, it will loosen the crowd up a little bit more, I find. If you're playing and a string breaks and then you stop and you're like, oh damn, it's kind of like it loosens everyone up a little bit. And then it changes the personality of the show.
I got you. And then when you write the song and you're ready to perform it for somebody for the first time, like to you,
Hmm.
it's like, let's say it's 80% done. And you're
Hmm.
like, hey, I'm working on this. It's not 100% finished, but say, like, let's talk about Victim in the Dark since it's a new sequel or new single.
Yeah.
You know, who's the first person you play to go, hey, what do you think? It's 70, 80% done, but there's something missing. You got anything you want to add? You know, or just the general audience of like, hey, this is what I'm working on. What do you think? Like, who's the first person you go to for that?
It was I think I wrote it and I made a demo of it. I remember I made a demo of it on GarageBand. And I think I sent it to a few of my a few people, like a few musicians, and they liked it. I'm like, okay, but you always know when it's like done. You always know when it's like something very something of substance. And I played it, first time I played it was at a show. And you just introduce it like, hey, this is a new song. And you also got to understand that like it's not gonna, the way you perform it, it's gonna evolve. You know, the first time it's not gonna be like it'll be good if you're, you know, if you practice it and you rehearse it, but it's gonna evolve into something down the road.
Right.
So it's the song kind of grows with you through the shows. And then at some point you realize, okay, like, okay, this is done. We're good.
And then that's when you put it to wax and you make sure that like it's on the record.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, like I had that song done and but I wanted to get these other singles out before just to kind of develop a narrative and an understanding of my listeners to just to just for them to understand the you know the narrative and like the what I'm going for. So I knew I wanted to wait on this a little bit, and I knew that early this year, like this is a good time for this song.
You like my interpretation of the song initially before we had our conversation was, oh, this song could have been about abuse, this or self-abuse. This song could have been about addiction. This song could have been about coming out of depression. And we had the clarification in the conversation where it started. When the audience member hears the song and reflects on it, say similar to what I did, and they have a different interpretation of the initial meaning. Some artists will be like, no, you're wrong. This is what I meant. Others will be like, if it's that important to you, then yes, that's the right interpretation. How do you find the balance between what was intended and what was received?
I let no the thing for me is every and if they interpret it one way, then they're right. That's the way they interpret it. That's the way they're gonna connect to the song. So you don't want to shoot that down, you know, because my experience with the song is my experience, but like whoever listens to that, like I want them to integrate it into their life. So and you know with my lyrics, I don't want to be so like with this one especially like it could be like you said, someone can interpret it as addiction or someone can interpret it as a relationship too. So it's really just how the listener interprets it, and it's never wrong, you know, unless it's something like completely crazy and it's like if it's like, oh, this is like about politics, I'm like, no, it's not. I'll be like, no, it's not.
Right.
That's the
That's too far in the projection at
it's
that
way
point.
too far. Like, yeah, then okay, man, like hold on. Like,
Yeah. Marco, before I let you go, intention for an EP or full length album, and I'm a physical media guy, so I'm
yep.
one of those people that either wants to put the needle on the record or put the CD in the CD player. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
that old. I want to like, what is it like for you, digital versus physical media? Because it's easy to get out there digital, but like if I come to the show and I meet you and I want to get something autographed, you can't sign my phone.
No.
Yeah.
No, no. So yeah, I mean, like there's gonna be like all these releases are going to is ending up as an album. I wrote this as an album. And I find like I write best when when I'm writing an album. You know, these are like obviously like yeah, they're singles, but like these are all connected. That's why when I went into production, I told my producer, I'm like, listen, this has to fit. This can't be like these are not separate things, you know? So yeah, at some point, like, you know, when I get all these singles out and it's all gonna end up as a full length, you know, I think I'm sure, you know, like 10 songs, you know, I mean, whatever whatever songs make it on it. But yeah, I know vinyl is something that I'm very interested in. Obviously, you know, merch and all that stuff, but like definitely I could see it on that the day it's on a vinyl, that's the finish line right there.
Like to me, physical media has always been shorthand. Like, I go to somebody's house and they got their bookshelf or they got their DVD library or their CD or record collection, and you're just going through it. It's like, okay, this is what they're into. I can kind of
Yeah.
get a sense of who this person is. You know,
Hmm.
I can't sit
Exactly.
there and take your phone and then scroll through your Spotify list or your Netflix account and go, what the hell is wrong with this person or whatever, like, because then I'm the
Yeah.
jerk that's scrolling through your stuff, which is an invasion of privacy. If it's on the shelf, it's meant to be displayed.
Yeah, you like I said, like when you get vinyl, you have a piece of that. You own it, like that's a piece of the art. And the thing with, the streaming stuff, like I think there's there's benefits to it, there's pros, and I don't like, hate it like some musicians and artists that that I hear through or meet, but I think there's benefits to both, and but there's more benefits to physical, I
Okay.
think, because you own it and you have it
Right.
in your hand.
Yeah, the benefit of streaming is I'm going to find artists in Korea that I've never heard about, or people
Exactly.
in Nepal, or whatever. Like through streaming, I found the Who, which is a Mongolian throat singing metal band, and then
Wow.
I got to interview them in Vegas a few years back, and I was just like, wow. But I found them through streaming. I didn't find them at the record store. So like, there's a balance of what's coming out on the record that I want physical, that I want signed, and there's a story behind it versus, oh my God, look who I found. And now I get to connect with them differently. Like it's a balance of the two at this point.
Yeah,
Marco,
exactly. And yes,
no, no, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I got you. I think we
Yeah,
the I think when you find a new artist on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, I think that's entrance into the into that for that artist. It allows entrance, and then it leads into, they come to a show, and then it leads into physical merch and physical, vinyl. So I think it all kind of connects in a way.
well, in the meantime, I'm glad we found you. And let me know where we can find you on social
Thank you.
media and where's the next tour, where's the next show coming up.
Oh yeah, you could find me on everywhere, Spotify, Apple Music. I got a website, just type in my name on Google, it pops up. And yeah, my next show right now at the moment is July 19th for the Big and Tall Festival in Rutherford, New Jersey. I'm looking to book some more June dates, but right now that's the big show that I'm like focused on right now. It's for a good cause, and yeah, it's a great recording studio, Big and Tall. They're throwing a festival in Rutherford, July 19th. I go on at 5:30 p.m. So
I also wanted to ask you this. This is only the second song that I realize isn't dropping on a Tuesday. It's coming out on Thursday, May 22nd. How
yeah,
intentional was it for a Thursday release in comparison to Tuesday since everybody releases on Tuesday?
yeah, it's funny because Tuesdays and Fridays are the big days, and I didn't want to do it on a Friday. I've been doing them. I've been dropping on Fridays, but like that's like I wanted to change it up because like Friday is a big mu new music day, and it's a big release day for like mainstream artists. So you're getting millions, thousands of songs like released that same day. So I figured, all right, let me try Thursday. Let's see, let's see how it happens. As long as it's not Saturday or Monday. So
Hey, I hope it blows up for you the way it did for that wrestler Joe Hendry because he released his song on a Monday and now everybody's like got that
yeah,
earworm. So let's
good,
make
good.
Thursday Marco Del Giudice Day.
Can't wait, can't wait. Thank you, thank you.
All right, my man. And then album cover, you got all the artwork ready for it to go, or are you still working on that as well?
No, no, everything's good. We're good to go with it. So I'm excited.
I love it, man. Let me know when you get out to the West Coast so we can hang out here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there soon. Would love it.
All right. Marco Del Giudice, the latest song. I am thrilled for you. Victim in the Dark coming out this Thursday, May 22nd. It's been great chatting with you. You can tell how
Yeah,
early it is here on the West Coast.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for having me though. This was fun.